प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिद्वान्तोदितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तितः परमानन्दपाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोऽस्तु ते मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गिन् मद्गुरो मन्महादन मन्निष्ठारकमद्भाग्य मदानन्द नमोऽस्तु ते असाधु साधुतादायिन् अतिनीचोच्चतारक आणमुञ्च कदाचिन्मां प्रेम्णा हृत्कण्ठयोस्फुर. Last week we discussed Narada Muni, how he glorified Dhruva Maharaj in the sacrificial arena of the Prachetas. Now we are coming to the last part of Dhruva Charitra. Maitreya Rishi gives the Phala stuti for hearing this Dhruva Maharaj Katha. Can repeat after me. Dhanyam yashasya
Dhanyam yashasya mayushyam
punyam swastyayanam mahat
punyam swastatyayam mahat
swargyam drau swargyam drauvyam saumanasyam
swargam drauvyam somanasyam
prashasyamagamarushanam
prashasya maga arshana maga mash arshanam, right? It'll be arshanam, right?
prashasyamagamarushanam.
Okay. Prashasya maga arshanam. By hearing the narration of Dhruva Maharaj, one can fulfill desires for wealth, reputation, and increased duration of life. It is so auspicious that one can even go to a heavenly planet or attain Dhruva Loka, which was achieved by Dhruva Maharaj, just by hearing about him. The demigods also became pleased because this narration is so glorious and it is so powerful that it can counteract all the results of one's sinful action.
So Maitreya Rishi gives the Phalastuti. Dhanyam yashasyam ayushyam. We'll go to the next shloka also and discuss together. Shruttvaitat shraddaya bhikshnam
Shrutvaita Shraddhaya Bhikshnam
achyuta priya cheshtitam
Achyuta Priya Chestitam
bhaved bhaktir bhagavati
Bhaved Bhaktir Bhagavati
yaya syat klesha sankshayah.
Yayashyat Klesha Sankshaya. Translation. Anyone who hears the narration of Dhruva Maharaj and who repeatedly tries with faith and devotion to understand his pure character attains the pure devotional platform and executes pure devotional service. By such activities, one can diminish the threefold miserable conditions of material life.
In these two shlokas, Maitreya Rishi is beginning the Phalastuti of hearing Dhruva Maharaj's story. Dhanyam yashasyam ayushyam. Punyam swaschayanam mahat swargyam drauvyam saumanasyam prashasyam agamarshanam. So we have to see these two shlokas combinedly. So for persons desiring wealth, for persons who desire dhanyam, dhanyam, here the word dhanyam means Dana means wealth. Dhanyam here means for those desiring wealth. Similarly, Yashasyam, those who are desiring fame. Ayushyam, those who desire long life. Punyam, those who desire pious credits. Swastyayanam, those who desire good fortune. Mahat Swargyam, those who desire position in heaven, great position in heaven. And Drauvyam, those who desire great position in heaven. Uh, all these people, by hearing repeatedly, Shrutva Etat Shraddaya Abhikshnam. Next shloka, Shraddaya Abhikshnam. One has to hear with faith, the Abhikshnam repeatedly. By hearing repeatedly, with faith, the praiseworthy activities of Dhruva. Saumanasyam Drauvyam. By hearing the praiseworthy, Prashasyam here means, I think, the praiseworthy. By hearing the praiseworthy activities of Dhruva, who is very dear to the Lord, one who is devoted to the Lord, Achyuta Priya Cheshtitam, Achyuta Priya Cheshtitam, and which allow one to attain Dhruvaloka. Drauvyam means by hearing Dhruva Maharaj stories, one can attain Dhruvaloka. And which are suitable even for the Devatas. Sumanas, one of the meaning of the word Sumanas refers to Devata. Saumanasya means going to Dhruvaloka or hearing the stories of Dhruva Maharaj is suitable even for the Devatas. And Agamarshanam, Aga means sin. Agamarshanam means hearing the Dhruva Maharaj story will destroy all the sins. And then Bhavet, Bhagavati Bhaktir Bhavet. It will also produce Bhakti to Bhagavan. And when a person develops Bhakti to Bhagavan, what happens? Yayasyat Klesha Sankshayah. By developing Bhakti to Bhagavan, all the miseries are destroyed. So in this shloka, how many benefits are given by hearing Dhruva Maharaj's story? One can attain wealth, one can get fame, one can get a long life, 3. One can get a pious credit, 4. One can get great fortune, and then one can get a position in heaven, and then one can go to Dhruvaloka, 7. And then Agamarishanam, destruction of the sins. And then 9th is one will develop Bhakti to Bhagavan. And 10th is by that all the miseries will be destroyed. 10 results of hearing Dhruva Maharaj's story are mentioned. Out of that, if you see, Bhakti to Bhagavan is somebody naturally a devotee desires. But all the other results are desired by people in this world who are absorbed in materialism. They have all these desires, getting a fame or wealth or long life. So that means hearing the Dhruva Maharaj story not only gives spiritual benefits, it also gives material benefits. So there are many stories in the Bhagavatam because most people in the beginning, they are not interested in pure devotional service. Like even after many years of practicing bhakti, so we also have different anarthas, we also have different attachments are there. What to speak of those who take to bhakti in the beginning, when they also have many desires, destruction. It could be different material desires to gain something or to get rid of certain problems. So Bhagavatam stories can also fulfill these desires also. That is why the famous verse, Akama Sarva Kamova, Moksha Kama Udaradi, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, Ejayeta Purusham Param. Whether somebody is without a desire or filled with all material desires, or whether the person is desiring moksha, one should perform intense bhakti to the Lord. So this Dhruva Maharaj pastime is suitable even for the Devatas to hear and recite. So Prabhupada, that is why he says that there are different types of people in this world. Not all of them are pure devotees. Karmis are there, they desire a lot of wealth. Or there are people who desire reputation. And some people want to go to heaven or Dhruvaloka. And so Maitreya Rishi is saying that every one of these desire, every one of them can hear the narration about Dhruva Maharaj and thus get their desired goal. So, so therefore, Dhruva Maharaj's story is a testimony for the shloka. Akama sarva kamova moksha kama udarade. So not only this akama sarva kamova moksha kama udarade, it says that whatever may be one's desire, perform intense bhakti to Krishna. But the same statement is true, same pertinent is true in regard to hearing about the devotee of Bhagavan. So if anyone hears about the activities of the Lord's devotee, he can also achieve the same result, akama, sarvakama and mokshakama. Because there is no difference between the activities and characteristics of the Supreme Lord and those of his pure devotees. So in the shloka, Achyuta Priya Cheshtitam, that is also significant. Because Dhruva Maharaj is very dear to Lord Achyuta. So just as the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Lord are pleasing to hear, similarly, hearing about his devotees is also pleasing and potent. So, abhikshnam, shraddaya abhikshnam, it's also important. That means if one should read the Dhruva Maharaj story with faith and again and again, then one can attain the highest perfection of life in any way he desires. And most importantly, the most important benefit is that Bhavet Bhaktir Bhagavati. One gets a chance to become a great devotee. So when a person becomes a devotee, the first effect of devotional service is that Kleshagni. The miserable conditions, one becomes freed from the miseries. Therefore, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Rupa Goswami says that all the angas of bhakti which are applicable in relation to the Supreme Lord, they are also applicable in relation to the devotees of the Lord. His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj mentioned in one class that on this Phala stuti shloka only. So suppose when a person with one of these motivations, like especially one of these material motivations in mind, when a person starts hearing Dhruva Maharaj's story, initially he may have with the material motivation he begins. But when a person in the course of hearing the story, he will realize that the motivation of Dhruva Maharaj is much greater than my motivation. Dhruva Maharaj's motivation to begin his bhakti, that is to get a kingdom greater than that of Lord Brahma. There cannot be a higher material motivation than Dhruva Maharaj's motivation. Like somebody may in this world, they may desire some long life or get some financial success or get some fame. But Dhruva Maharaj's motivation was greater than any of the material motivations of this world to get a position greater than that of Lord Brahma. And then when a person continues to hear that story, then when he hears the story carefully, then he will realize that Dhruva Maharaj finally said that I consider my previous motivation to be like a broken pieces of glass after having obtained the divine diamond in the form of the Lord's association. Uh, so in the form of in the form of devotee association, in the form of pure bhakti. So then a person will realize that actually uh, Dhruva Maharaj's final realization, hearing that whole story, will transform him. At least he will come to know that pure devotional service is higher than any of these material motivations. Just like Sanatan Goswami, there was a devotee of Lord Shiva, and he was very poor. And when he prayed to Lord Shiva appeared, and then he said that, see, I am actually in so much of poverty. I have to arrange for the marriage of so many of my daughters. Please give me wealth so that I can arrange the marriage of my daughters. So Lord Shiva told that, why don't you go to Sanatan Goswami? He has a touchstone by which you can get so much of wealth. And this person went to Sanatan Goswami. And Sanatan Goswami told that, okay, you want a touchstone? You can take the touchstone from that dustbin. You can collect it from there. And he went to the dustbin and collected the touchstone. And then after some time, he started thinking, if Sanatan Goswami had kept the touchstone in the dustbin, that it means that he is having something more valuable than the touchstone. So then he decided to go to Sanatan Goswami and asked him, what is it you have, something which is more valuable than the touchstone? And Sanatan Goswami said, if you want to get that, then you first throw the touchstone in the Yamuna. And then after throwing the touchstone, you come to me, then I will give something which is more valuable than the touchstone. Then he threw the touchstone in the Yamuna. And then when he came to Sanatan Goswami, like he developed that leap of faith to throw the touchstone in the Yamuna and then to have the faith that Sanatana Goswami will give something more valuable than this. That is a test for him. That's a test of his faith. So when he came to Sanatan Goswami said that the thing which is more valuable than the touchstone is the holy name of the Lord. And then he gave the holy name. So in that way, although this devotee, this Brahmana initially went to Sanatan Goswami with a material motivation in mind, but eventually he developed he got a higher aspiration, he got something more valuable than what he was seeking for. So similarly, when a person may begin hearing Dhruva Maharaj's story with a different material motivations in mind. But in the due course of hearing the story repeatedly, attentively, then he will realize that how pure devotional service is higher than any of these material motivations. So Bhagavatam, in these stories, apparently the Bhagavatam is encouraging people to have the material motivation. Because these verses of Phala stuti are saying that one who is desiring wealth, fame, long life must hear Dhruva Maharaj's story repeatedly with faith. So apparently it seems that Bhagavatam is encouraging a person to have material desires. But actually Bhagavatam is teaching people in a very expert manner. Instead of directly telling a person the material aspiration which you have is something so inferior. Instead of directly telling, the Bhagavatam is encouraging the person to hear Dhruva Maharaj's story. And by hearing the Dhruva Maharaj story, he will automatically, he will naturally come to the conclusion about the highest goal as pure devotional service. So that is the art of preaching. Once Srila Prabhupada told, some devotee was asking Prabhupada about some guidance about the youth preaching. Srila Prabhupada said that you should, not only for youth preaching, for any preaching, you preach in such a way, like when suppose a person's face is ugly, instead of directly telling a person you are ugly, you show a mirror in front of him, by which the person will naturally come to the conclusion that my face is ugly, it needs to be decorated. Similarly, one should present the philosophy in such a way that a person naturally comes to the conclusion that how pure devotional service is the highest aspiration. That is how, instead of directly telling that your material motivation is inferior, but you present the philosophy in such a way that people are naturally inspired. Next shloka. So 2 shlokas we covered. Mahattvamichyatam tirtam
Mahatvam ichchatam tirtham
shrotushiladayo gunaha
shrotu shiladayo gunah
yatra tejas tadichunam
yatra tejas tat ichunam
mano yatra manasvinam.
mano yatra manasvinam. Translation. Anyone who hears this narration of Guru Maharaj acquires exalted qualities like him. For anyone who desires greatness, prowess, or influence, here is the process by which to acquire them. And for thoughtful men who want adoration, here is the proper means.
So here, Mahatvam Ichchatam Tirtham. For those desiring greatness, Shrotu Shiladayo Guna. Hearing about Dhruva is the cause of greatness. Hearing about Dhruva, the hearer develops good qualities. For those desiring power, Yatra Tejas Tadichuna. Hearing about Dhruva is the cause of power. For those who are intelligent, Manasvina. Hearing about Dhruva is the cause of respect. So more Phala stuti is given. So in the material world, everyone is after some profit, some great position, some respectability in the world, and some reputation. So everyone wants some exalted position. So everyone wants to hear about the great qualities of exalted persons. So all ambitions which are desirable for great persons can be fulfilled simply by reading and understanding the narration of Dhruva Maharaj's activities. So Bhagavatam is giving different types of phalastuti. For example, there is a story of Shyamantaka Mani in the 10th canto. In the Shyamantaka Mani story, the phalastuti is given that those who hear the story of Shyamantaka Mani, they will become freed from bad reputation. They will become freed from bad reputation. There is a because in that story, Krishna got a bad reputation as a person who stole the Shamantaka jewel and one who killed Satrajit. Then Krishna proved his innocence. By hearing that story, one will get freed from bad reputation. And so here also, there are many stories in the Bhagavatam. Hmm. So by hearing about Dhruva, the hearer develops good qualities. Shiladayo gunaha. Uh, one can get a great position, one can get a power, one can develop good qualities, and one will develop, one will also become, one will also get respect from people. Hmm. So we can see that sometimes there is a notion. These statements are not exaggerated statements. These are actually true. It's not that these statements are some empty promises. No, one should not take like that. These are actually true. And so therefore, it's not that although Bhagavatam, right in the beginning, Bhagavatam says that Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, all types of cheating dharma or the all types of cheating dharma apart from pure devotional service are rejected. Why apart from pure devotional service other dharmas are considered as cheating? Because the Atma is ultimately looking for the experience of Bhakti Rasa with the personality of God. The Atma is looking for unlimited, ever increasing pleasure, which can be obtained only by the experience of Bhakti Rasa with Krishna. But all the other paths, all the other dharmas, apart from devotional service, cannot actually offer what the Atma is looking for. So in that sense, all the other paths, all the other dharmas are actually cheating because they don't, although they don't offer what the Atma is actually looking for. So therefore, all the other paths apart from pure devotional service are considered to be cheating dharma. So although the Bhagavatam, right in the beginning, it gives Bhagavatam establishes a very high standard by saying that even when a person has any material desire, even one material desire apart from the desire to please Krishna, then he is considered to be practicing Kaitava Dharma. At the same time, Bhagavatam is also encouraging people with all mindsets to perform bhakti. Akama sarva kamava moksha kama udharata. So that's what we can see the Bhagavatam's mood. Next shloka. प्रयतः कीर्तयेत् प्रातः
प्रयतः कीर्तयेत् प्रातः
समवाये द्विजन्मनाम्
समवाये द्विजन्मनाम्
सायं च पुण्यश्लोकस्य
सायं च पुण्यश्लोकस्य
ध्रुवस्य चरितं महत्.
ध्रुवस्य चरितं महत्. Translation. The great sage Maitreya recommended one should chant of the character and activities of Dhruva Maharaj, both in the morning and in the evening, with great attention and care, in a society of Brahmanas or other twice-born persons.
So, Sayam cha punya shlokasya. One should recite this great story of the famous Dhruva, Punya Shlokasya Dhruvasya Charitam, attentively in the morning and in the evening. Pratah Sayam cha. And Dvijanmanam in the company of the Brahmanas. This is an important word. So Prabhupada says that when we hear and chant the glories of the Lord, Srimad Bhagavatam, in the association of the devotees, then only one can understand the importance of character and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. That is why it's repeatedly mentioned. One should hear in the association of the devotees, one should hear from a devotee. So that is why this verse says that Dvijanmanam, It is especially recommended Dhruva Maharaj's character be discussed in a society of twice born, which refers to Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. And one should especially seek the society of Brahmanas who are elevated to the position of the Vaishnavas. So thus, then the discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam will become very quickly effective when we hear in such company. So Prabhupada says that the purpose of ISKCON is to provide such an association. Therefore, we have morning Srimad Bhagavatam Katha, evening Bhagavad Gita class. So anybody who comes in contact with the society automatically becomes a devotee. So we have actual experience that many karmis and others come to the society and find a very pleasing and a peaceful atmosphere in the temples of ISKCON. So Dvijanmana means the twice born. So by the process of the Vaishnava initiation, Sanatana Goswami, there's one famous shloka which is quoted, that by the process of the Vaishnava Diksha, any person from any background can become a twice born. So just like by a particular process, mercury can be converted into gold. Similarly, by the process of Vaishnava Diksha, anybody can become a twice born. So then further he says that when a person in Kali Yuga, everyone is born a Shudra. Janmana Jayate Shudra. So when a person has not undergone the second initiation, Dvijanmana, then he is forbidden to study the Vedas. Simply by academic qualifications, a Shudra cannot understand the transcendental science. So sometimes the people, they try to, many of the universities also, Vedas are taught. Even the German universities, they have done a lot of research on the Vedas. Big volumes of books are written. And research is going on, it is being taught. But they study the Vedas without following the Vedic culture, the way of life, Vedic culture. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Sattvat Sanjayate Jnanam. You cannot get the Vedic knowledge simply through an academic study, simply through theoretical studies. Sattvat, by Sattva Guna, the knowledge will develop. That means the importance of a lifestyle centered around Sattva Guna. The Vedic culture is important, not simply by academical study. So then Prabhupada says that in the present moment, throughout the entire world, the education system is geared to produce Shudras. A big technologist is no more than a big Shudra. This is a very strong statement because although we may be consider certain educational degrees to be very worthy, but when you see from a dharmic point of view, because Prabhupada is writing the purport from a dharma point of view, from bhakti point of view, he says that the current educational institutions are only producing Shudras, in the sense that because most of the educational degrees, after getting the degrees, they have to depend on the industry to get job. Education does not make a person stand on one's own leg. There's a very famous saying, Sa vidya ya vimuktaye. That is true knowledge by which a person becomes liberated. One no longer remains a slave. which liberates a person. Which liberates a person not only from spiritual point of view, even from a material point of view. That means which makes a person stand on one's own leg. But somehow the educational system, because when we study the history of the education system, this education system was started by the certain industrialists like Rockefeller and different other people. And they started this education system with the purpose of facilitating the industry, with the purpose of facilitating the modern corporates, by which the corporates' profit will be increased. So therefore, that uh, like in this degree, like one is dependent on the industry, and when the industry fluctuates, there's a sudden change in the industry climate, stock market collapse or something, people are suddenly out of their job, and then their future becomes uncertain. So like that. So from a, like for example, like sometimes there are people who collect the plastic in the road and then they sell the plastic. So it's a very menial. They collect the plastic bottle. Sometimes when the train stops in a final station, some people come to the inside the train and then they collect all the plastic bottles. And then when they sell the plastic bottle, they get certain amount of money. Somebody who is well-to-do, one sees the person who is collecting the plastic bottle and making a livelihood. He sees that person with a sympathy. Oh, his job is just collecting the plastic bottles. And suppose if the person who is collecting the plastic bottles, he is the son of a very rich person, and that rich person is your friend, and you come to know that this person, he has actually cut off his relation with his father. My friend who is such a rich person, he has broken that relationship, and then he is coming, and now he has come to this level of collecting the plastic and then making a livelihood out of it. So when you see that, suppose when you understand the background of that person, having cut off his relation with his rich father, and then he is maintaining himself by collecting the plastic, then how much sympathy and pity you will actually look towards such a person. So similarly, the Vaishnava acharyas like Srila Prabhupada, it may appear very strange that why Prabhupada is saying that, making such a strong comment about the education system. But the Vaishnava acharyas like Srila Prabhupada, they practically see that through this education system, it is making people collect the plastic and make a livelihood out of it. Especially when we talk about the Indians, they lost their connection with the scriptures. They've lost their connection with the scriptures, the Indian culture, the scriptures, and then uh, they are taken in a different direction, and then they are made to struggle with this education. Of course, whatever situation, it's not that we can change the entire system. It's very difficult in the Kali Yuga. But whatever situation we are in, whatever education degree we have, we can make the best use of the bad bargain by engaging that educational degree in the service of Krishna, by following the principle of Yukta Vairagya. So, so then Prabhupada says that because the whole population of the world consists only of the Shudras, there is a decline of spiritual knowledge and people are unhappy. People are unhappy because there is a decline of spiritual knowledge. So therefore, Krishna consciousness movement has been started especially to create qualified Brahmanas to broadcast spiritual knowledge all over the world. So therefore, there is the attempt to propagate Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Hmm. So by that, when people get this knowledge, then they get the clarity in their life. They can continue to have their whatever position, whatever jobs are become, whatever technical background they are having. But with the spiritual knowledge, they get the right direction and they can utilize, just like we offer even plastic jewelry in the service of the Lord. Many of the jewelries which we offer to Radha Gopinath Bedi are plastic jewelry. So similarly, whatever degree we may have, we can utilize that in the service of Krishna. So next shloka, 49 and 50. Paurnamasyam sinivalyam
Paurnamashyam Srinivalyam
dvadashyam shravanethava
Dvadashyam Shravanethava
dinakshaye vyatipate
Dinakshaye Vyatipate
sankramerka dinepi va
Shankramirka Dinepiva
Shravayet Shravayet Shraddadhananam
Shravayet Shraddhadananam
Tirthapada Tirthapada
Tirthapada Padashrayah
Necham Statratmanatmanam
Nishcham Statratmanatra Natmanam
Santushta iti siddhyati.
Santushta iti siddhyati. Translation. Persons who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord should recite this narration of Guru Maharaj without taking remuneration. Specifically, recitation is recommended on the full moon or dark moon day, on the day after Ekadashi, on the appearance of the Shravana star, at the end of a particular tithi, or the occasion of Vyatipata at the end of the month, or on Sunday. Such recitation should of course be performed before a favorable audience. When recitation is performed this way, without professional motive, the reciter and audience become perfect.
So a person who has taken shelter of the Lord. Tirthapada Padashrayah. Tirthapada is the name of Krishna. Uh, one under whose lotus feet all the tirthas reside. Tirthapada Padashraya. One who has taken shelter of the Lord should make those with faith hear this story. Shravayet Shraddhadananam. He should make those with faith hear this story on Paurnamasya, on the day of the full moon, Sinivalya, or on the day of Amavasya, or on Dwadashi, and during Shravana Mantha, on Shayatitis, Dinakshaye, and Vyatipata days, and on Sankaranti, or on Sundays, Arkadine. Arkadine means Sunday. Arka means the sun. And Na icham statrat manatmanam santushta iti siddhyati. Satisfying himself by his self. Na icham, without desire for profit, one attains the perfection. Siddhyati, one attains perfection. So here, this is also important word, important shloka. This story says, this shloka says that na icham, Prabhupada comments on that. Vishwanath Chakotaku says that one should not accept payment or other articles because one satisfies the self by the self. That means like one should not put a charge for it. Okay, I will narrate, but this is the amount. This is the amount This is the amount you have to pay. Not like that. Somebody later, if somebody after teaching or after this one, if somebody voluntarily gives, that is a different thing. That is a somebody shows out of gratitude and wants to give some dakshina. That's a different. But narrating Srimad Bhagavatam by giving a by giving a rate in the beginning. Okay, for this many days of katha, this is the rate. Accepting payment on that. That is actually that kind of attitude is not is condemned in the shloka. That kind of attitude is not recommended. That is why na icham is important. So the Vishwanath Chakravartipad says that the devotee who will speak the Dhruva Maharaj's katha, the devotee who will make others hear this Dhruva Maharaj's katha, he should think in his mind, oh, this audience, this devotee is hearing this katha with faith. This devotee is hearing the topics of Krishna with faith. And that is my payment. The payment I expect is that the audience is hearing the katha with faith. So when a person is having that expectation, by that the speaker of that story, he attains perfection. So Prabhupada in this purport, he talks about professional reciters. So they may ask money to extinguish the blazing fire within their bellies. But they cannot make any spiritual improvement or become perfect. It is therefore strictly forbidden to recite Srimad Bhagavatam as a profession to earn a livelihood. Only one who is completely surrendered at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, depending fully on Him for personal maintenance, or even for the maintenance of his family, can attain perfection by recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a very profound statement that it is Prabhupada does not recommend reciting Bhagavatam as in order to earn a livelihood. One who is completely surrendered to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, depending fully on Him for personal maintenance or even for the maintenance of his family, he can attain perfection by recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. The process can be summarized as follows. The audience must be faithfully receptive to Bhagavatam, and the reciter should completely depend on the Supreme Lord. So both the quality of the audience and the quality of the speaker, both are mentioned. The speaker should not have material aspiration, and the audience should hear with faith. So therefore, Bhagavatam recitation must not be a business actually. So when the Bhagavatam is recited in the right way, not only the reciter achieves perfect satisfaction, but the Lord is also very satisfied with the reciter and the audience. So both are liberated from material bondage simply by the process of hearing. There are many, in general, for any Vedic study also, there's a very famous saying which says that Brahmana Nishkaranena Veda Shadangaha Adyetavyaha, something like that. A Brahmana should study and teach the Vedas and Vedangas without any motivation. Without any motivation. Because in the current time, this concept is a complete paradigm shift from the current education system. Because the current education system are the main driving force is that if I get this degree, how much money I can earn. That is the main driving force. That means like the value system has become that dharma is made subordinate to artha. Artha has become the main prominent. Or dharma is even disconnected from artha. So if, when a person is teaching something also, it is with the whether teaching or hearing, it is the main motivation is the artha, the money. Artha is important. This one, Artha is also, Artha Shastra says that Dharmasya Moolam Artha. Artha is the basis for performing Dharma. Artha is the root for enjoying Kama also. Artha is important. Even dharmic activities can be performed with Artha. But Artha should not be made, but Dharma should not be made subordinate to Artha. Overemphasis on Artha should not be given. And especially here, because Bhagavatam is a ripened fruit of the tree of the Vedic knowledge, Bhagavatam is teaching the path of pure devotional service, rejecting all kinds of Kaitava Dharma. So therefore, in the Bhagavatam discourse, the Bhagavatam recitation, when a person is, the highest standard is that the speaker should expect the only dakshina that the hearers are hearing with faith. And the speaker should not have material motivation and the hearer should hear with faith. So that is the highest standard of Bhagavatam recitation. Therefore, this verse is important. Otherwise, when a person is suppose speaking Bhagavatam with a material motivation in mind, then the hearers who hear that Bhagavatam, they may not get the seed of pure devotional service. They may get the seed of mixed devotional service. They may get the seed of mixed devotional service because the speaker is speaking from that platform of a mixed devotional service. And it is true that like there was one well-wisher, he was saying that many Bhagavad Kathakars take place, but then I can sense that the underlying current is that there is so much of expectation for money and business, like that one well-wisher was saying. Therefore, this is a very important shloka. Last two shlokas. 51. Jnanam tattvaya
ज्ञानम् अज्ञानतत्त्वाय
yodadyat satpate mritam
योदत्यात् सत्पथे मृतम्
kripalor deenanathasya
कृपालोर्दीननाथस्य
devastasyanugrishnate.
देवास्तस्यानु देवास्तस्यानुगृह्णते. Translation. The narration of Dhruva Maharaj is sublime knowledge for the attainment of immortality. Persons unaware of the absolute truth can be led to the path of truth. Those who, out of transcendental kindness, take on the responsibility of becoming master protectors of the poor living entities automatically gain the interest and blessings of the demigods.
So the devatas do not give obstacles to the merciful protector of the wretched. Kripalor Deenanathasya, who gives immortal knowledge to the ignorant on the path of truth. So the devatas will not give obstacles to the merciful protector of the wretched, who give the spiritual knowledge to the ignorant people on the path of truth. Jnanam ajnata tattvaya yodadyat satpate mritam. So if making people hear knowledge which gives liberation, gives such a great result, if making people hear about Dhruva will certainly give a greater result. When people give knowledge which gives liberation, that gives so much of result. Then when people make others hear about the story of Dhruva Maharaj, it will certainly give a greater result. So Jnanam Ajnata means knowledge which is unknown almost throughout the entire world. So nobody knows the absolute truth. Materialists are very proud of their advancement, but no one actually knows the absolute truth. So therefore, Maitreya Rishi recommends that to enlighten people about the absolute truth, devotees should preach the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world. Chakre Satvata Samhitam. Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam with that purpose. To teach the people about the absolute truth. So that is why in the first canto, 7th chapter beginning, when Vyasadeva Samadhi, in Samadhi, Vyasadeva saw that all the living entities in this world, they are bound with the three modes of nature. He diagnosed the disease of the living entity. The living entities are bound with ignorance since beginningless time. And Vyasadeva also found the remedy for the disease. The remedy for the disease is the Bhakti Yoga. And in order to explain the remedy for the disease, that is Bhakti Yoga to Bhagavan, he wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, Anartho Pashamam Sakshat Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje Lokasya Janato Vidvam Chakre Satvata Samhitam. That is the shloka which Prabhupada is paraphrasing in the purport. So, generally, even though people are interested in understanding the truth, but they take to speculation and reach at most the conception of impersonal Brahman. So, very few people know about the personality of God. Mahatmanastu Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Ratasi Siddhaye. So, therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is especially meant to enlighten people about the absolute truth. So, although the impersonal Brahman, there is no fundamental difference between Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. But factual immortality cannot be obtained unless a person attains the stage of associating with the Supreme Person. The Brahman realization is the preliminary level, higher than that is the Paramatma realization, higher than that is the Bhagavan realization. So devotional service which leads to association of devotees, that is the real liberation. And Kripalor Deenanathasya, pure devotees out of compassion, they enlighten the people. They distribute the Bhagavata knowledge. Therefore, such a kind-hearted devotee is called as Deenanatha, one who is merciful to the ignorant people. So Krishna is also called as Deena Bandhu. So pure devotees are also in the same position of Deenanatha. When we say that a spiritual master is non-different from Krishna, in what way a spiritual master is non-different from Krishna? Sakshat Daritvena Samasta Shastre. Is a spiritual master equal to Krishna because just like Krishna can create, maintain, and annihilate the universe, can the spiritual master also create, maintain, and annihilate the universe? No. Spiritual master does not have the ability to create, maintain, and annihilate the universe. The spiritual master is not different from Krishna. It is told in the sense of the spiritual master is compassionate like Krishna. In fact, the spiritual master, a guru, is more compassionate than Krishna. So that in that sense, it is said that the guru should be given equal respect like Krishna because he has the compassionate nature. In that he can even excel Krishna. So generally, people are interested in worshipping the devatas, especially Lord Shiva, in order to obtain material benefits. But a pure devotee who engages in preaching the principles of devotional service does not need to separately worship the devatas. Rather, the devatas are automatically pleased with such a devotee and offer all blessings within their capacity. Because by watering the root of the tree reaches every part of the tree. Last shloka. Idam maya te bihitam kurudvah Dhruvasya vikhyata vishuddha karmanah Hitwarbaka kridanakani matur Griham cha Vishnum Sharanam Yo Jagama. And read the translation.
The transcendental activities of Dhruva Maharaj are well known all over the world, and they are very pure. In childhood, Dhruva Maharaj rejected all kinds of toys and playthings. left the protection of his mother, and seriously took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. My dear Vidur, I therefore conclude this narration, for I have described to you all its details.
So Maitreya is concluding the narration by summarizing the story of Dhruva Maharaj in short. Dhruvasya Vikhyata Vishuddha Karmanaha. The story of the pure and famous activities of Dhruva. Hitwarbaka, as a child, Kridanakani Hitwa, giving up the playthings, he took shelter of Vishnu. The Prabhupada says that Chanakya Pandit says that life is certainly short for everyone. But if one acts properly in the short life, his reputation will remain for a generation. Just like Krishna is everlastingly famous, similarly, the reputation of Krishna's pure devotee is also everlasting. So, therefore, Vikhyata and Vishuddha both are important words. The transcendental, pure, and famous activities of Dhruva Maharaj. So, Dhruva Maharaj, leaving home at a tender age and taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the forest, is a unique example in this world. It's a unique example in this world. Therefore, this story, Dhruva Maharaj, we conclude here after, I think, many months or maybe more than a year. I'm not sure. We have been discussing the Dhruva Maharaj story. So, from the next chapter, we'll continue the Dhruva Maharaj's descendants. Very beautiful story of Anga Maharaj will begin. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody has any comments, any questions? Okay, we'll stop here. Hare Krishna. Next week we'll have class. निरंतरा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर